Hi everyone, this is Alysia, also known as AVP 60685. Doing my blog a little bit early this week. Well, normally during midweek. This week I'm going to be talking about a story that I've never really talked about ever. And it's basically the story of when I almost got kidnapped. Now, I've never really disclosed the story really to hardly anybody ever, but I'm going to try. One of my friends suggested I should talk about that because I was debating between 3 different topics, and I decided, okay, I'll do this topic. Now, let me backtrack a little bit to my religious post that I did a while back ago. When I grew up in the cult that I grew up in, my parents and I would go to church on Jewish holy days. And before my dad got kicked out and got where he started going to other spin-offs of the group, basically once a year, either in September or October of the year, my parents and I would go on these church conferences. They could be anywhere in the world, just as long as you went. And typically my parents and I would go to Norfolk, Virginia, and there's a place called the Scope Arena. You probably see it on TV sometimes. You may just Google it up. Just Google up Scope Arena. And basically that's where my church would have church services. And for the first one I went to, I don't remember because I was a baby. Because my parents went to Victoria, Canada. They went through Seattle to go see my dad's youngest brother. And then from there they went to Victoria. And my parents typically went to Norfolk with me after that. And after my dad got kicked out and was sent away, he would go to other church, which was sort of like the church, but it was different because it met in someone's home, and we would listen to church services via a telephone conference. Basically, it was almost like being there without being there. The only difference was we didn't have the people there, but we would listen to the whole thing via telephone. And one week I would go with my mom, one week I would go with my dad. And it got confusing sometimes because you felt like a divorced kid. And 2 weeks I went back to back with my mom. We had a church dinner dance. I went with her that week, and then 1 week, because I was in the children's choir, I had to perform, so I went with that. My dad said, because you went the last 2 times, you need to go with me. Now, for this church conference, my mom didn't know where she was going to go. She thought we were going to go to Norfolk. My dad hasn't decided. My mom gets an opportunity by a special church member and says, hey, would you and your daughter want to go to Nova Scotia, Canada? I'll pay the plane tickets. All you have to basically bring is spending money, clothes, and have a good time. Of course, my mom accepts. My dad doesn't decide where he wants to go, but he can't go with us, obviously, because the tickets are only for 2 of us, not all 3 of us. My dad keeps asking me, where am I going to go? I said, I'm going to go with my mom. I'm in 3rd grade at the time, 8 years old, and I keep saying I want to go with my mom. I want to go with my mom. And my mom's already packed up a lot of our stuff already because we're going to be gone for 2 weeks. She's packed up clothes. She's packed up some of my toys. She's already arranged for my teacher to get schoolwork. And I keep telling my dad, I'm going to go with my mom. I'm going to go with my mom and her friend. Oh, okay. Subject gets dropped. At least I think it is. No. He brings it up again and again and again. And eventually I ask him, well, where are you going to go? He says, I want to go down to Texas to see the Alamo. As an 8-year-old, that sounds kind of cool, but I want to go with my mom. At the time, and even now, I had never been to Texas. My mom had been to Texas, my dad had been to Texas, but they never gone together, and I had never gone. Thanks, but no thanks, Daddy. I want to go with my mom. Subject gets dropped again. And my mom's getting ready for church one Saturday morning. She helps me get ready for church. She gives me a hug bye, says be a good girl for your daddy, and I'll see you when I get home. I hear a sound coming from the other room. It's the sound of a zipper unzipping. I think at first it's my dad getting dressed. No. He's unzipping the suitcase that my mom has packed up and literally is taking clothes of mine out of the suitcase. And he's throwing them on the bed. What are you doing, Daddy? What does it look like I'm doing? Oh, Alysia, I didn't know it was you. I didn't even hear you come in. It doesn't matter. What are you doing? Oh, well, I thought I could change your mind and let you go to Texas with me after all. I'm going with my mom, remember? So, he keeps pulling clothes out. Keeps pulling them out. Well, can't my mom go with us? Can't mommy go with us? No, you don't need to be around your mom all the time. It's time for you to be a big girl now. You're 8 years old. Go get ready for church. And we'll talk about this later. But Daddy, I want to go with Mommy. He's mad now. Really, really mad. And I can tell he's getting ready to hit me. He's frustrated. He literally just grabs the clothes from the bed and puts them in a duffel bag. And says, well, we're going to leave right after church anyway. That's it. End of discussion. But Daddy, what about my toys? Get out of the way and let me get ready for church. But remember, as soon as church is over, we're leaving. I came into a neighbor's house to tell them what's happening because they were either not home, they might be still asleep. I don't know. About 10 minutes later, we're going into the car, driving along. Now, some people would say, well, why didn't you jump out of the car or something? My dad had an old car, a 1976 Oldsmobile Cutlass. Those cars are very, very heavy. They've got big, long doors, almost like a Cadillac, the old style ones that you would see in the 50s and 60s, but this is a 70s car. And basically, I normally sit in the back seat. My mom and dad sat in the front, or sometimes I'd sit in the middle between them, because there was where you put the armrest, where you could have a third person sit up in the front seat. Sometimes I'd sit up there, but mostly I was in the back seat. If my mom wasn't there, then I got the front seat automatically. I can't lift the door that well because I'm 8 years old. I'm small for my age. The door's heavy. I don't know the way where we're going. And I don't know hardly anybody to go to. So I go with my dad. And we don't really talk. Normally, before church or after church, when we were meeting at this person's home, she had a Charlie McCarthy doll and other toys that I would play with, like a little brass bed, a tea set, and I would play with those sometimes after the services. But my dad said we don't have time because we're going to be leaving. I know in my heart of hearts that means I'm leaving Maryland. I'm leaving everything I know. So, about an hour later, we get to the person's house. He lies on why I'm crying and says I'm just upset about the service, about everything that's happening. We go inside. We're there early, so I get to play a little bit. But there's not that many people meeting. Maybe 5 of us. I think there was only 3 though. The woman, my dad, and a friend of his. And me, so that's technically 4. I think the woman's husband's somewhere. He wasn't a church member. Anyway, after a little bit, clean up the toys, say hello to the other person. And church services seems to be going normal. A couple hours later, there's a knock at the door. I don't really pay attention. The woman goes to check it out. It's my mom. And she tries to tell my mom church is still going on. And she says, I know, but I need to see Alysia or I need to see John. My dad doesn't even look up. I literally run from where I'm sitting to my mom. I run into her arms and I'm on her lap, hugging and kissing her and saying, Mommy, Mommy, Mommy. And she tells me, don't worry, it's going to be okay. It's all over now. And my dad politely excuses himself and my mom and me and says, we're going to discuss this later, but for now, this isn't the time to talk about it. So, my dad tries to tell my mom, leave Alysia here. I'll take her back home. Don't worry about it. It was just a misunderstanding. No. My mom insists, no, she's going to go with me, and she's going to go with me right now. We'll talk about this later. And long story short, we went to a friend's house that night, me and my mom did. I know later she went back to the house and talked with my dad. But years later, I found out, I would say maybe less than 10 years ago. I mean, this was before my dad. This was around the same time my dad died. Got sick and everything, that my mom told me that my dad didn't even plan on keeping me after this kidnapping. That he planned on just taking me to Texas, perhaps dropping me off at a family members on the way, either on the way to Texas or on the way back from Texas, that would be dropped at some random family member's home to be raised. So to know that my own father tried to kidnap me at 8 years of age has plagued me with terrible nightmares. And it scares me even now at 33, almost 33. I still have terrible, terrible nightmares. I get terrible nightmares and I get terrible panic attacks and scared. I mean, right now I'm really scared because I've never talked about this ever. And it's scaring me. because I never told anybody what happened. I mean, I know he's gone, and I know I forgave him, but when I hear kidnapping stories about, like, the girls that were in Cleveland and they were kidnapped, and Elizabeth Smart, and other girls that were kidnapped and they found their way home, it scares me knowing that the person that tried to kidnap me was in my own home. Knowing literally they were just a bedroom away. And these kidnapping stories scare me because I know it could have been me. I could be one of those people that showed up on a missing poster. Knowing it could have been me. If God hadn't intervened, I wouldn't be here. I don't know what would have happened to me, but I just know God spared my life for a reason. And this is one of the hardest things I've ever had to talk about in my life. It really scares the crap out of me. I've never told anybody. I never told my teachers. Because my parents separated for a while, almost a year. And I would just pretend everything was okay. Kidnapping stories have always hit me home because it happened to me too. It happened to me too. And it was somebody I knew. And I couldn't just run away. I couldn't just call the police. It's something I'm plagued with nightmares and flashbacks and oh God, it hurts so bad. I mean, I feel better now to talk about it. I'm sorry, guys. I'll talk to you guys later.